you planning to change
I'm
anything?
happy. I'm out here like LeBron James with the 3 rings on them boys. I had 3 judges like this. You think I care about what him and his team telling him? Like, oh, they probably was catering to him too, because he a sucker, so they had to cater to him. Like, oh, Jamel, they cheated you, they robbed you. He probably was doing all that, but guess what? 3 judges said I won. I don't have to do nothing different.
These fighters bit off way more than they could chew with their opponents, and though they seemed confident pre-fight, they all were left a serious blow to their pride once the time to fight actually came around.
Final message, George?
Put this chump asleep.
You'll knock Froch out?
I will knock Froch out. I'll knock him out. He won't hear that final bell.
No one's come close to doing that yet, George.
No, there's people that have come close. It's there. The blueprint has been written. There's many ways I can choose to do it, and I might, as I say, I might choose to beat him in many different ways, and then I'll put him asleep.
To kick things off, we got a really good one. George Groves was nothing short of a bully to Carl Froch during the build-up to their eagerly anticipated rematch, taking every opportunity to try to psych his opponent out. Seriously, Groves was giving off some majorly aggressive energy, staring Froch out of it at every opportunity, while also talking over him whenever he tried to open his mouth. Now, we're not saying that Carl Froch was looking like the weaker man by comparison, but Groves was very clearly doing his very best to overwhelm him in the pre-fight build-up. Looking back on it, it almost bordered on mean-spirited. But hey, that's the fight game. Froch sat there and didn't really retaliate much. Groves went as far as asking if Froch was on the verge of crying, which was a real dip into schoolyard bully territory.
You're gonna cry? You're gonna cry, aren't you? Don't cry. I can hear your voice breaking. What's that? Come on now.
Johnny, you were saying.
What?
Sorry, excuse. I apologise on George's behalf. Carry on.
Oh my, he's gonna cry. Adam, is he gonna cry? Are you okay?
What's happening?
Are you all right?
But either way, it was clear which one of these guys was trying to make his mark on the mic. This all-British battle certainly split the fans down the middle, especially after their enthralling first fight. But it was obvious that George Groves was painting himself as the villain in this one, and it certainly seemed to be having an effect on Carl Froch. But fights are not usually won and lost on the mic, and when the time came to actually throw down, one of these guys was about to step up in a huge way. On fight night, the stage was set for a tremendous collision between these great rivals. The crowd were mainly pro-Groves, and as the fight wore on, it was neck and neck coming into the middle portions.
Doesn't seem to quite have the authority at hand, and that was a pretty ragged assault from Froch scoring there.
But in round 8, Froch managed to score a scintillating knockout that left Groves totally out of it on the canvas.
Digs in deep, sucks it up, and gives him! Wow! Right hand has destroyed Groves! It's waved off already! Charlie Fish saw enough! What a shot!
There was absolutely no controversy about it, and after a win like that, Froch decided to go out on a high note, retiring from the sport on this almighty victory over a truly aggressive opponent.
I'm the best. I'm not a textbook fighter, a jab, right hand. I fight to win. I do everything to win. My objective is to win, totally to win. You know what I mean? Everybody else says, this is what we do. We do this, the jab, the right. I win. I fight to win.
We move on next to a fight that was considered at one time to be the biggest upset in the history of boxing. A battle between a prime Mike Tyson and the unheralded contender James Buster Douglas. This fight was seen as a major layup for Tyson, an easy challenge that was designed purely to keep him active and on the TV screen as heavyweight champ. This fight was expected to be so one-sided that most Vegas bookmakers refused to take bets on it. That was what this bout was seen as, an easy fight for Tyson. And in his pre-fight interview, Tyson was working hard to paint himself as a cold-blooded killer, singling himself out for his inhuman desire to win fights, calling his drive to simply win at any cost truly unique to him.
Like, what are your insecurities?
My insecurities is performance, more than how my lifestyle, how I'm living, and what I bring in as far as income. My insecurity is performing well.
In the ring?
Yeah.
But in reality, Tyson's life of excess was truly getting out of hand. He wasn't training as hard as he should have been, and as he was out there enjoying the fruits of his labor, an incredibly motivated Buster Douglas was working like his life depended on it. Little did we know that this virtually unknown talent was about to turn the sport of boxing on its head, writing his name in the history books by pulling off the shock of the century, a shock that would be held up as one of the most surprising nights in sports history, period. On fight night, despite everything seeming normal at first, it became clear that Tyson was not prepared for the fight that Douglas was bringing to him.
Heavier than is Mike Tyson. Coming up to the closing seconds of this, the first one. Wow! With the right hand is Buster Douglas.
And as things wore on, Iron Mike's gas tank started to fail him. Buster was slowly but surely taking over the fight, delighting the crowd in the arena by giving the champion a fight he had never fully experienced before. And when the knockout finally came, it left the entire sport on its knees.
Landing these. Oh, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at this. He's knocked Mike Tyson down for the first time in his career. Mike Tyson hits the canvas. He's in big trouble. He may not be able to recover. It's up to 7 and 8. He's not going to make it.
Tyson had finally been ousted from his position as champion, and he would never get a rematch with Douglas and the chance to avenge this crushing defeat.
I feel like I'm a better fighter than Sam Eggington, but I feel like Sam Eggington is a youth, and he's going to try to bring that youth energy to the fight, and try to, make me question myself a little bit. But I question myself every day in the gym, trust me. I spar fighters better than Sam Eggington in the gym already, so I'm not worried about what I'm going to see in the ring. There's nothing Sam Eggington's going to bring to the ring that I haven't already seen. It's just a matter of me handling it at my age. And they're pretty confident that at my age I can't handle it, but I'm pretty confident that I can handle it. So that's why we fight, get in there and fight, and we'll find out.
Paulie Malignaggi is well known for being one of the most vicious trash talkers of his era. But at first, his dynamic with Sam Eggington didn't seem like it would turn out too antagonistic on either side. Paulie slowly started to go to work though, ruling out the idea that Eggington was a better fighter than him, giving him the edge only in his youth, whereas he himself was a much older and more experienced fighter. Paulie made it clear that youth alone wouldn't be enough though, and that his superiority would become evident pretty early on in the fight. We all know that Paulie can get real aggressive without warning, and sure enough, when the time for their face-off came, we could see this competitive energy start to build. Malignaggi isn't known for his power punching, quite the opposite. But what he can do is dominate by means of frustrating his opponents through constant volume, impeccable defense, and a granite chin. But if we needed any proof that Malignaggi's prime was finished, it was about to become crystal clear to us once the Eggington fight was through. For a guy who was once known for his durability, Paulie seemed to be reacting poorly to some of Sam's heavier shots. And when the finishing sequence came, the brutal body shot and follow-up blow to the head sent Malignaggi crashing to the canvas.
Bakın bekledi, aparkat vurdu, karaciğerden yakaladı. Zamanlaması mükemmel bir darbeydi bu.
Not only had he underestimated his opponent's talents, beyond just being young, but he had also failed to realize just how far past his prime he himself actually was. And sure enough, with this final defeat to mull over, Paulie retired from pro boxing, leaving the sport behind him on a difficult defeat.
Only people he could convince of that stuff is the people on his team. He had 12 rounds, never stumbled me, never rocked. It ain't sold off him. This fight sold off your boy. They coming to see your boy. I mean, listen to me. The same Jamel you seen fighting Trout, fighting this person, fighting that. It's been the same guy. He acting like, oh, I had to do this different. I did this different.
I'm gonna teach you how to come get a belt.
Come on, man.
You gotta give credit where it's due. Tony Harrison can talk. And when he got a deal signed to take on the great Jermell Charlo in a rematch of a fight that he'd actually won by decision, you just knew that Tony would bring his A-game to the mic. Because with that win over the highly regarded Charlo, he had enough ammunition to really dig into him in the trash-talking department. But Charlo wasn't fazed, despite the constant insults that Harrison was slinging in his direction. Tony even took shots at Charlo's public speaking skills, which, let's be real, was a pretty hilarious dig to make.
This fight right here in California, wherever he wanted to be Lions only promotion, this fight sold because of me. This motherfucker can't even complete a sentence. He had retarded damn near.
Harrison had a true air of confidence about him, which was, of course, bolstered by his earlier win over Jermell. And in one hilarious moment, he called on Charlo to actually convince him of why he had a chance in his fight, taking aim at his devoted fans for believing anything he says without a need for too much logic. But just because Harrison got that first win didn't mean that he was guaranteed a second. In fact, he was about to get a rude awakening. This time, we got Jermell bringing his A game, proving the technical gap in quality between the two. His combos were just too much for Harrison, and when push came to shove, it was clear that one of these fighters was on a different level to the other.
Really well defensively on the ropes right there.
Look at that shot, landed again by Charlo. Charlo's able to land with a little more regularity. Harrison tries to fire back. And Joe, to your point, if Harrison's going to stay on the ropes, this could be an early night.
By the 11th round, with the WBC light middleweight title dropping out of his grasp, Harrison was left covering up desperately as Charlo went in for the kill. And after a few successful shots landed, the ref had seen enough.
Jack Reese is looking close. Jack Reese has ended it. And now the two-time WBC Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Jermell Iron Man Charlo.
Ruling it a TKO victory for Charlo, and a very well-deserved slice of revenge over an opponent who talked way too much for his own good.
De una persona con mucho ego, con muchísimo ego. Si él considera que él tiene su lado A y yo soy el lado B, pues que me cuente él a cuántos lados o a cuántos boxeadores de clase A él venció. Pero vamos, que tampoco voy a hacer yo gala de mi ego. Lo voy a dejar a él con su propio ego, con sus tonterías, con sus historias, y yo voy a entrenarme para el 7 de junio, estar en perfecto estado y demostrar que soy el mejor.
¡Foto, Sergio!
Sergio Martinez versus Miguel Cotto was an excellent pairing of two very good fighters that served up a truly interesting collision of styles. And more relevant to us here, personalities. Martinez seemed intent on dragging Cotto down to earth, asking him honestly who he had actually beaten, and why it was that he was considered the A side of this pairing. According to Martinez, the general public were a little off in their assessment of this matchup, and his opponent Cotto was guilty of having an inflated ego coming into the fight. You could tell that they were both very eager to put the talking to rest and get into the ring and settle their difference. And when the time came for them to have their first proper stare down, it was a damn good one. Cotto was a pretty calm figure here, and it was Martinez who did the majority of the talking.
Pero quiero que no se olviden de algo.
Don't forget one thing.
Vamos a pelear.
You're gonna fight.
Porque yo que soy el campeón,
because I am the champion.
Subo primero al ring y no último, porque si no, Cotto no peleaba.
And I'm coming into the ring first.
But despite the fact that Sergio was talented, this is Miguel Cotto we're talking about. And he was fired up to deliver some justice on fight night after egotistical behavior. Martinez claimed in the build-up to this fight that there was no way in hell that he could be finished by Cotto. And, well, let's just see how this one went.
Martinez is falling apart. His knee, his eye now. He looks terrible.
Cotto was declared the winner. And for Sergio Martinez, this one stood as a real low point for his career.
Puerto Rico, Miguel Ángel Cotto.
You guys want to shake hands to begin this? Can I get you to shake hands? You know, you can shake
You
me
want to
a
give you a hand?
I'll shake you down on July 2nd.
Megs, give it to me.
Why don't you want to shake his hand? I'll shake it when the referee says touchdowns at the beginning of the fight. That's it.
You know, the man has been talking a lot in the last years, and the way he walks, the way he talks, it all speaks for David Haye.
Like he was against Corey Sanders, like he was against Lauren Brewster.
Let's back up. David Haye wore a T-shirt with
holding both of their
holding
heads.
both the Klitschko heads.
Cut off, yeah.
And then you saw the bodies. And why did that bother you?
Dead bodies.
That bothered you?
That he's standing on the dead bodies, and Men's Health magazine. It was silly. It was.
What's your take on that?
What would you rather me? What other T-shirt? A picture of me, stroking him to sleep at night or something? Well, no. You know, I want the Klitschko's heads, plain and simple. No doubt. You and your brother, and I'm gonna have them. This year, I'm gonna have both of them.
Well, tell me about it. Is there anything to that?
I'm looking forward to this fight. If I were you, I will shut up. Just get in the preparation.
Thank you both.
Let me do one more thing.
Save for after the fight, man. Before the fight.
He
You
has
do that
the
for
rules.
David Haye was a damn good fighter in his day, but it's easy to see how he rubbed fans the wrong way. And when Vladimir Klitschko claimed that he talked his way into their world title fight, he wasn't entirely wrong. Sure, Haye had some good wins under his belt at that time, but he was gathering momentum in the media by talking outwardly about his dislike for the Klitschko brothers, while also wearing a t-shirt publicly that featured an image of him conquering both Vladimir and Vitaly.
So I'm asking what's going to be next. You see. What's going to be next? You're gonna cut my dad's head, my mother's head, other family members? Maybe you will attack my religion, my race? This is over the edge. This is not about sport.
Punish me then. Come to the center ring and
This
punish
is
me.
not about the sport.
And when the time came for him to get face-to-face with Vladimir, Haye was obviously relishing the moment. He made a point of reminding Klitschko and the world of the losses the champ had sustained earlier in his career. And overall, he certainly was projecting an air of confidence. But Klitschko seemed to be amused by the whole thing more than anything else, like he knew full well that his British counterpart was going to do the largest portion of the work in selling the fight. And that's exactly what happened. Haye did virtually all the heavy lifting.
I want the Klitschko's heads, plain and simple. No doubt. You and your brother. And I'm going to have them. This year, I'm going to have both.
Until the time came to back it up. As Klitschko himself said, he believed Haye to be little more than a wannabe. And when the time came, the world would see it. And as it turned out, there was a major gulf in technical skill between the two. The champ confidently beat up David Haye for the majority of the fight, making his opponent miss repeatedly, while coasting to a very comfortable victory.
Well, Haye now has got to fight on animal courage, or are they obligated to necessarily make that a 10-8 round? I've seen them go against that. Closing seconds of the penultimate round, Haye disorganized and wild.
It was a real humbling moment for Haye, or at least that was the idea, because when the fight ended, he tried to claim that he had a broken toe during the fight.
Have a look at my toe now. I'll take my shoe off. You can see I've actually broke my toe there. It's absolutely excruciating. I think there's nothing you can do for a broken toe. Push off this back leg. If you look, I've tried to push off. It's broke. My toe's broken.
Using his post-fight interview to immediately start hunting for excuses. Naturally, the fans didn't buy it one bit.
She's amazing, and she's helped put all this stuff together and made sure that this thing happened. Y personalmente pegarle al dueño de la empresa.
He said that he would like to personally thank the new promoter, Trista, and that he'd like to really show her how it's done.
Siendo él el primer perdedor de su empresa. Papá, finito ya, no más papá.
I'm not gonna have a dad anymore.
I'm nervous. What is he doing behind me?
There you go.
Oh, come on, man. Smoke in his face, man. Come on, that's bad. Come on, man. It's an athlete. Come on, man. What's wrong with you, man?
If you watch this channel enough, you'll know that we just love Ricardo Mayorga. The dude was just an outrageous character, one of the craziest figures to have ever competed in boxing. Not only was he a hard drinker, smoker, and incredibly gritty fighter, but he was also one of the most offensive trash talkers imaginable, conjuring up some of the wildest rivalries of his era. Even though English wasn't his first language, he succeeded in bringing out a true fire in Shane Mosley when he slapped Mosley's girlfriend on her backside during a media event.
Por dicha tiene el hijo aquí para que lo recoja cuando lo noquee.
So that his son, St. Jr., can pick him up after the fight and help him up.
This, as you would expect, sent the elite boxer into a rage, which is pretty understandable. Well, thankfully, Mosley didn't spend all his energy on media day, and instead he channeled it into a dominant performance. Mayorga has a way of getting under his opponent's skin to a level that most guys just wouldn't dare approach. He's offensive with a capital O. But when your actions put you in a position where a fighter as good as Shane Mosley wants to take your head off, you gotta deal with the consequences when the time comes to produce the goods.
Talked to him in the fighter meeting, so what do you do now? He said, well, I'm just a transient.
I'm a good friend of the president, Daniel Ortega. He says he basically pays me a stipend every month.
It's not that Mayorga was totally out of his depth, but there are levels to this boxing game, and Mosley was showing himself to be way beyond his rival. And in the 6th round, after it really started to seem like the fight was wearing on Mayorga, Mosley landed a swift body shot that caused its target to crumble to the mat. Mayorga, being the character that he is, trying to claim that it was a low blow.
You got two 40-somethings in here who both appear weary and maybe...
And down goes Mayorga.
He's claiming a low blow.
He's claiming a low blow.
Referee is counting.
Says no.
But the referee wasn't having it. The TKO was declared, and it was a dominant way to get your revenge over someone for sure.
If you haven't heard, I've got an energy drink out called Tyson Fury. Try it if you want some balls. First of all, I want to say, you're one good-looking son of a bitch, don't you ever die. I've actually fought at the Riyadh season before, back in 2019. I actually knocked out the monster among men, Braun Strowman. And I'll knock out another big dosser in him, in another one 3 or 4 years later. And I get to knock out him. He's a good-looking lad, I do like him. Probably got a big Corey as well, remember that, Francis? He's a good-looking chubby, isn't he?
Yeah.
Have you got a big Corey?
Huh?
Have you got a big Corey?
No. Big what?
Big Corey. I'll beat you at boxing, I'll beat you in a cage. No problem.
No, bro.
No problem.
Focus on boxing.
No problem.
For right now.
Best at
what you can
boxing,
do.
and I'll beat him in a cage fight.
Tyson Fury had every reason to feel immensely confident going into his matchup with the mixed martial artist and boxing debutante Francis Ngannou. Why wouldn't he think that this fight was a layup for him? Ngannou was a hard hitter, sure, but he had zero pro boxing experience. And given that Tyson had already dismantled Deontay Wilder on several occasions, a puncher with as much power as Ngannou and way more high-level experience. And during the build-up to this fight, Tyson, despite being reasonably respectful, still made a point of calling Ngannou a dosser and discrediting his skill set.
And I'll knock out another big dosser in him, in another one 3 or 4 years later. And I get to knock out him. He's a good-looking lad, I do like him. Probably got a big Corey as well, remember that, Francis?
The MMA fighter would surely have no chance against the almighty heavyweight champion of the world. And though Ngannou was clearly training to win, he was still putting forth a very calm and reserved demeanor pre-fight. Fury, to put it plainly, seemed overconfident, like he was expecting the easiest fight of his career.
Nice stiff, snappy jab,
Okay.
bang, doubling up,
Good for
maybe
you.
even trebling it. Bang, 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 bang. Jab, slip, slip, slip. Body shot, uppercut, jab, jab, feint. Bang, right hand game.
And based on the numbers, that's what he should have gotten. But even if we're breaking our own rules with this one, because it wasn't really a knockout or even a win for Francis, this was one painful moral defeat for the Gypsy King, and that's enough for us.
Make this fight as difficult as you want. But again, success for Ngannou.
Just when you think he's dead and buried, he comes back with 2 shots. He was looking comfortable, Tyson Fury, but oh, big right hand though, and he takes it again, Ngannou.
On fight night, Ngannou's MMA background came into play a lot more than most people expected, with his ability to stifle Fury's clinch game evident from the get-go. On top of that, Francis had far more composure than anyone expected, and even when he dropped Tyson to the canvas in round 3, he didn't empty the gas tank going in for the kill. Sure, the scorecards were close and eventually went in favor of the champ, but Ngannou stole the show here, winning a huge moral victory, embarrassing Tyson Fury in the process.
Winner by split decision, still undefeated from the United Kingdom, the WBC Heavyweight World Champion, the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury!
On in London, be quiet. You know, first of all, you know, David Hay is embarrassed, man. Sky Sports don't do box office because of David Hay. Yeah, he messed up box office for all the young fighters coming up, and I'm going to give him 2 slaps for that. If David Hay is a fighter, he should fight me. Ada Booth is there.
Lost 3 fights in a row.
Yeah, let's fight. Excuse me. Let's fight. What?
From the building, 3 fights in a row.
He didn't take me down in a street fight. You don't even know what a street fight is, like that. The clown. That was no street fight. He calls out a street fight, Jesus Christ, what happens when we get into a street fight?
You gotta love Derek Chisora. The dude goes all out with his trash talking, and he wasn't afraid to take things up a notch when it came to antagonizing the great David Hay. This all-British encounter was always going to serve up an interesting rivalry between the two. But what we didn't expect was for things to get physical very early on. After Chisora was caught taking shots at Hay during a press conference, Hay, who was in the crowd, started firing back at him. So much so that Chisora left the stage, walked up to him, and kicked off a brawl between the two. Speaking about it at a later date, Chisora laughed off the notion that someone like Hay could ever match him in a street fight, regardless of how each of their pro careers were going.
You don't even know what a street fight is, that guy. The clown. That was no street fight.
These two fighters certainly know how to rub their haters up the wrong way, but Chisora was the far more abrasive character of the two here. Hay, in contrast, seemed pretty level-headed, and this calm aura would translate into results within the ring. This was one thrilling finish. The Haymaker is a pretty damn good nickname for David Hay, because when he does smell a finish, he's very skilled at seeing it through. And after scoring that first knockdown on Chisora, he sensed that the end was near. And in a rapid sequence, Hay landed a series of huge shots that sat the veteran down once and for all.
He's got one of the best chins in the business, but he couldn't stand up. And he's done again. I don't think he's going to get up this time. The counts of 6 and 7 and 8. He has.
The rep took one look at him and decided enough was enough. And so this rivalry was brought to a one-sided end, and we never did find out who would win in a street fight.